So if you want to know what a good ROAS is, I think it's really best to think about even just what the profit margin is versus trying to get these 2, 3, 4x ROASs. So if you are operating within a 30% profit margin, a ROAS of 1.4 actually represents a 30% profit margin. It's work to optimize it, it's work to kind of get it going right. But once you do get it right, I would be willing to live with a 30% profit zone on something that is not eating up a bunch of my time. So the 1.3, 1.4 ROAS was like, yes, we could live with this because they could continue to scale it and grow it and just keep it running. It was just running and running and running and running. So I don't want you to have like these big lofty goals, or even maybe even fall into the trap of thinking either you're not doing it right or not doing it well enough if you don't have this huge ROAS, versus just being able to see that you are really in the right profit zone. When you're a beginner in Facebook ads, it's good to kind of know how much, first of all, should I even spend? And then how much can I expect to get back, once I spend that amount? And then obviously wanting to be able to reinvest that money back into your ad spend so that you can continue to grow your business and make even more money. A lot of times for ROAS, what you'll hear out there is people kind of doing these big glow ups and sharing these case studies of these amazing ROAS, return on ad spend numbers, things like, 6x ROAS or, 10x ROAS. And I just want you to know that a lot of those stories are typically, first of all, their highest, best overall case study. And not that they're always the exception, but maybe that specific campaign was an exception, even if that business is running other campaigns. When you're in the online course business, there's very little overhead. So that's almost sometimes all you have. You don't have a whole lot of other costs. So when you're operating within 30%, your kind of take-home revenue is still pretty big, right? So when I look at budgeting and teach people how to budget for their ads and think about how much they need to spend, then I say, well, calculate kind of what your profit zone is going to be so that you can determine, is this, lead cost going to be within that realm? When should I turn off my ads? And I typically will say, look between the 30 to 50% profit margin, in which case that's going to be a 1.4 to a 2x ROAS, or return on ad spend. So I've been at I've been at Ad World. It's a conference, it's an online conference. And Molly Pittman, she did a really good job. She was a media buyer presenter. She did an amazing job at really giving some behind the scenes look at some accounts that were spending $20K per day for some of them, which is huge, right? Likely you are a beginner, so you're not going to be spending that much. But I'm sharing this because in the accounts that she was showing, and I want to say she either gave 3 or 4 case studies, right? All of them, their ROAS was between like 1.3 and 1.4, and she felt very good about it. Okay. And they're spending tens of thousands of dollars a day for that one ad account. So that one client. So you can imagine then for a beginner, if you are in that range and you're getting a 1.4, percent ROAS, then that's really good. So, or 1.4x ROAS. So basically, if you put your money in and you get at least that exactly back and then 40% more, maybe you didn't exactly double your money, but nonetheless, you were in the profit zone and enough to keep going. Now, with course creators, in the beginning stages, I'm going to recommend that you do conversion ads for leads and really getting people, onto your email list, whether it is through gated content, such as a webinar, a challenge, or some other event where they have to opt in first just to get the information, or some gated content offers that are just, smaller offers, just like a PDF download, just making sure, of course, that it's still high quality and you're attracting the right quality client who could potentially, or the right quality prospect who could potentially become a client down the road. And Molly Pittman, a lot of the case studies that she showed, if not all of them, were using the conversion for purchase objective. So they had like a loss leader product at the front end, in which case they were not making any profit on that exact conversion purchase ad, but on the back end, there were upsells and different ways that they could circle back and actually get those clients to spend more. So their average order value was still high. And that's how they came up with the 1.3, 1.4. But the great thing is it's all automated. So sometimes when we think about, okay, so 1.3 or 1.4x ROAS, that sounds pretty good if you were able to kind of set up your ad and let it run for day 2, 3 days, a week or so without doing a whole lot of modifications. It's never going to be completely hands off. Okay, so I want you to get that out of your head, that Facebook ads is a magic answer to all your problems, and it's just all of a sudden going to bring in all these sales. It is work. It's work to optimize it. It's work to kind of get it going right. But once you do get it right, I would be willing to live with a 30% profit zone on something that is not eating up a bunch of my time. So another thing that Molly Pittman was sharing is that these ad accounts that she was showing us the behind the scenes picture of, they were spending $400 to $500 a day per ad set. So any one ad set, if you're looking for that purchase conversion, you're going to have to spend quite a bit. And so again, that's why I teach course creators who are looking to use Facebook ads to sell their course to use the conversion for lead. Get them on your list. You can build your list at a pace that actually fits your budget. And then the nurture work comes through email marketing, which again can still be set and automated. You can create welcome sequences and different ways that you can really send everyone, through the same exact funnel without a lot of extra work as what you would get with organic social media. You can spend as little as $500 a month instead of $500 a day. I do like to see a little bit more, maybe $1,000 a month, which is going to give you 3 ad sets at $10 a day, and then you're going to be sitting at about $1,000 a month. But that will grow your email list so rapidly and fill it with people who are actually, your ideal clients. And when you know that you have the right people on your email list through those Facebook ads, then you can start to really test out your funnel and know, is it working? Is it not? What do I need to optimize so that I can increase my ROAS? Another way people have these super inflated ROASs is because they are selling something like really high ticket. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a $5,000 package, right, and you are getting a really good lead cost, even if you're paying, $20, $50 a lead or whatever, even if you just close, you don't even have to close 1% of them. If you sell, say, 2 or 3 packages, you've made $15,000, but maybe you only spent $3,000 in ad spend. So it's still a decent ad spend, but now you're at a 5x ROAS. So I just want you all to keep that in mind, that some of it just depends on how much your package is, how much is your product or your course or your program, and that is going to determine the ROAS. It can become a vanity metric if you allow it to, if you're just listening to people who are sharing these, again, super inflated ROASs when they're not telling you, well, I only made 5 sales, but because those 5 sales were, $3,000 a piece, or whatever. And I think I said it backwards last time. Let's say it was 3 sales at $5,000 a piece, and that's still $15,000. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, depending on how much you're charging, you don't have to sell a whole lot to make a large chunk of revenue, and that is going to inflate your ROAS. And they don't always share that in their case studies.